It's time for the Hirschenfelds. Let's get right into it. Dr. Philip Hirschenfeld is a Freudian psychoanalyst, and Ethan Hirschenfeld is the son of a Freudian psychoanalyst, I would
David,
assume.
can I point something out? I don't know if you noticed. Dr. Hirschenfeld just revealed one of the tricks of the trade among the psychoanalysts. Dad, hold up your left wrist again. Look at that. See how the watch is on the outside? This is so that you can check how much time is left in the session without tipping off the patient.
If George Herbert Walker Bush had learned that, he would have been reelected. Remember, he looked at his watch? And so Ethan Hirschenfeld, Thug Jew.
Yes.
Everybody should download it. It gets better and better. Red Notice on Netflix. Bull on CBS.
And next week, tonight, Thursday night, in 1 week, Law and Order SVU. Yes.
And can you tell us who you play? This is Special Victims.
I play a character. Both of you would actually have been great resources for me. The character is a disappointed dad.
I'm not disappointed. Sorry.
His son.
He's not disappointed.
His son has been. My character's son has been accused of something salacious, lascivious, concupiscent, and
prurient?
Just all around prurient. Yes,
even prurient.
Prurient. But I, that goes without saying. That's redundant. It's SUV. I mean SVU.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
By the way, Law and Order SUV, much less popular. It's about things that go wrong in large vehicles. They did make the pilot, but didn't test well. Yeah.
So I want to turn to something that I think we're all gravely upset with and cannot believe. Anybody who lived through the lead up to the fall of the Soviet Union, this was not supposed to happen.
No, it's supposed to be the end of history, if you remember.
Yeah.
Nothing ever going to happen again.
I'd like your opinion on it. One of the things I wanted to frame it up against.
By the way, you haven't said yet explicitly what it is you're talking about. I assume you're talking about the introduction of the meatless McNugget at the McDonald's.
Yes.
Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
And it could have been prevented.
It could have been. Okay.
Here's what I've noticed about myself. The Palestinians refer to the foundation of Israel as the catastrophe.
Yeah, the Nakba.
Yeah. And I remember hearing that later than I should have in my life. And I went, I'm not proud of it. I went, well, why would they call it a catastrophe? Vladimir Putin calls the end of the Soviet Union a catastrophe. And I kind of had the same reaction that I had when I heard that the Palestinians view the founding of Israel as a catastrophe, not quite understanding why Vladimir Putin didn't welcome the fall of the Soviet Union. And certainly you're not going to cling to silly nationalism and pride in the Slavic people. This is get over it. Just move on. Why are you clinging to this? And go ahead.
I think I can explain it. At least this is my opinion.
But before you do, can I just point one thing out?
A word from our sponsor first.
I hate to do this, Dad, but you're kicking whatever plinth your MacBook is resting upon. You keep kicking it, so we're getting the sense that you don't
realize.
You're like you're on a fault line somewhere.
First of all,
Mr. Trump had a note from his doctor that he had shin splints. I'm going to get a note from my doctor that I have restless leg syndrome.
Restless leg. It turns out restless leg is not the problem. It's just the problem where you rest that restless leg.
Oh, okay.
Like against.
Now I have to take a detour. Dr.
Okay.
Herschel. Before the show started, about 4 hours ago,
Yeah.
I had to go outside and I put on a hat
Right.
and I looked like my father.
Uh-huh.
I saw my father in the mirror. I saw an old guy and I was disgusted.
That's too bad.
Yes.
This guy here,
Wait, let David finish his point.
I'm never interested.
That was a comma. That was not a period. At most, it was a
Go
semicolon.
ahead.
This guy here starred in I'm Not Rappaport at Harvard, directed by the new to-be Supreme Court Justice. And he powdered his beard, and he looked the spitting image of my father. I mean, couldn't tell them apart.
Yeah.
This is what happened.
And how did that make you feel? Did it stir up? Because the point I was going to make is I miss my father every day,
Yeah.
but I do remember there's like having a little anger. Like I was hypercritical of him the same way my kids are hypercritical of me.
I'm not hypercritical. I'm trying to help. You don't want to kick the table when you're zooming. But by the way, David, I understand you would love to see
If he did that to you, you'd be pissed off.
I would no. I welcome the criticism. I welcome criticism even from myself. I appreciate.
If I said to my kid, why are you kicking the table? They would say to me, I am permanently traumatized. You humiliated me in front of your two listeners. Couldn't you have waited? It's not a two-way street. It's not fair. If he did that to you.
No, but David,
Yeah.
we're like family by this point. This is the 2-year anniversary of us coming on your show. And
Really?
So, yes, we have like it's you, it's us, there's the audience. We can say what's on our mind. We don't have to stand on ceremony. Especially I don't have to. That's what I'm saying. You guys should probably still.
I'm gunning for
And David, we could kick you out at any time we feel like.
But why give the people what they want?
By the way, I dressed up for today's episode. I noticed that I was wearing the same schmata the last 2 weeks in a row, so I put on my self-tape audition garb for tonight's show.
But let me explain that phenomenon to you, as well as the Putin phenomenon.
Yes,
They may
please.
be related, actually. My dear son here claimed to hate to have to criticize me, but he had a big smile on his face while he was doing it.
It was not a criticism. It was a suggestion.
It was a praise. But my point is that all human relationships are ambivalent. So of course you loved your father, and of course you were pissed off at him and wanted to criticize him or felt criticized by him or whatever.
And of course you'd love to see him again, but the one place you don't want to see him again is in the mirror.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true. Yeah.
Because I'm mad at him because he got old. That was his crime to me, was he got old. And I look in the mirror and I see myself getting old, and I'm getting mad at myself.
The funny thing is, like, I don't know if you had this phenomenon, but like, Dad, I have this thing with you where in my mind, I picture you probably as a 35-year-old or a 42-year-old, and I'm now much older than either of those iterations of you even. I look at myself, and now I have this gray that I no longer have to paint into my beard. But
Right.
and there you are, as frosty as the snows of Kilimanjaro, and I say that with love. But it's a shocking development. We all just we all move along the I think of it as an escalator of life. We're all just moving up that escalator, and at the top there's not a menswear section. there's no luggage. There's no shoes. There's just a vast nothingness, and you just fall off the end of the escalator. That's what's up there.
And you get to see it. You're going up the. You're right. It's not an elevator.
There's no food court.
Right.
Yeah, there's not a food court. There's not even a men's room. It's just emptiness, and you just go right off. Yeah, but slowly. You don't fly off. It's just boop.
Right, and you see the other escalator coming down, and it's empty.
Right,
and
or there are babies on it. They're infants. They're babies and puppies on it. They're just starting.
Right. They're just, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
I think you should write a book with this philosophical concept in it. It would be a bestseller.
All right. I'll put it on the list. I'm going to put it on the list.
But getting back to Putin,
yes.
He is totally identified, body, soul, mind, with the Soviet Union. Not with Russia, but with the Soviet Union. They brought him up, they fed him, they nurtured him, educated him, they gave him lifetime employment. And he's been totally humiliated. It's been a personal humiliation to him that whole fucking thing fell apart, as it should have, because it was pure evil.
No, I was going to say, as David pointed out earlier, that there were ways to then be aware of that psychology and not poke it and not provoke it. And there were ways maybe that wouldn't have led to this outcome.
Well, I don't know. Because there's only that kind of humiliation just doesn't go away.
No, but if you flatter that person, and if you flatter them with a global political approach by, for example, not pushing east with NATO and maybe not engaging in certain other humiliations. I don't know. What do I know? I'm just a simple guy plowing my little plot of land.
Trump tried to flatter him, and you see where that got.
But that wasn't a strategic attempt to flatter him to achieve any ends. That was simply, I think that was just a thinly veiled romance.
Yeah.
And
he was owned. He was owned by Putin. Yeah. And, I got this bug up my brain that you do anything you can to stop a war. If you're the president of the United States, if you're Anthony Blinken, weeks in advance, you keep saying he's going to invade, then you get on the plane and you fly to Moscow and you say, what do we have to do to make you happy? We're the wealthiest country.
I heard you making that point, and it does make sense. But my question when I heard you saying that was, so long term, what does that actually get you? Does that actually solve the problem? Because then once you've paid him off in dollars or in some other way, then what's to stop him the next time around in 3 months or 6 months or in a year moving into the Baltic states or doing whatever he wants to do? I don't see that's a solution.
I think we've been trained to believe that everything flows from Chamberlain in 1938 and appeasement is wrong. And you were reading books about I'm not so sure appeasement is always bad.
No, it's not always bad, but with certain types of people, it's always bad. Hitler being one of them, and Putin being one of them, and Stalin being one of them.
But we don't know for sure because we don't know how this is going to play out. And in fact, the appeasement route in this case might have, looking back, maybe would have averted what is about to become an unthinkable disaster in all sorts of ways. We just don't know.
Yeah, but I think it's much less likely now that he's going to go after the Balkans and Finland and Sweden and whatever else he would have felt like doing, which he would have.
It's less likely because of the economic sanctions.
And NATO ganging up on him. Yeah. He did not expect this.
Yeah,
And the reason he didn't expect it is because he's a megalomaniac. He thinks he's the most brilliant person on the planet. He listened to none of his generals, just
Right.
like Hitler. Hitler's generals said, "Are you crazy? Invading Russia in the middle of the winter while there's another war going on?" And he said, "I'm a genius, guys. So
Right.
shut your mouth." And fortunately, he didn't listen to them, and he was destroyed.
Right. Right.
let's tell some jokes. Come on, enough of this.
How bad are things? It's March 3rd. It's going to be March 4th. I hope, the way things are going, that remains to be seen. A lot of people, and by a lot of people I mean me, can't believe that it's just one bad thing after the other. And I talk to my loved ones and I say, just don't watch the news. Read, don't have it going all. But how bad if you're a psychiatrist, I'll ask this of Ethan, what do you tell a patient who comes in?
Do you have the bell? Is the bell handy?
Oh, hang on. Yeah.
Because you said how bad it is. I'm going to answer on a scale of 1 to 10. How bad are things?
Yeah. Ready? I mean, usually you go in and you say to your doctor, I'm depressed about Trump. And the doctor says, come on, that doesn't really involve you. There's a hatchet in your skull and you're bleeding. Why aren't you talking about that? But at what point do you say to your patient, yeah, it's everything, the world is really depressing right now?
You want to wait. You want to wait till the second session to say that, because if you let that bad news out of the bag in the first session, it's bad. It's bad policy. It's bad. As a business person, it's bad as a practitioner. It's bad as a friend. You want to keep things civil. But
you're saying that if you blame it, if it's not a mental, if it's not you, it's the world. What do you need to shrink for?
Yeah, exactly. Then you can just go get a coffee. Yeah.
Right, and talk to a friend. So you're saying it's a bad business practice. Well, let's ask.
That's not the only reason. I don't want to sound too cynical, but when you started to ask before, how bad are things? They're a 7 right now.
They're at a 7.
They're at a 7.
On a scale of 1 to
1 to
what?
10. 1 to 10. But I think things have never been better than a 6. So the world there's always a lot of bad stuff going on. I was just listening to the Dharma talk of the guy in Michigan I really like, and he was saying, in this vein, he was saying, things were really bad during the Peloponnesian War also. And I mean, you go through history, things are bad. We just keep doing this to each other on some
And
level.
they had a plague. Didn't Athens have a plague?
I'm sure they did. They had a plague, and they did, as I might have said before, they did invent democracy and the theater and the sense of psychology. And then in the last 3,000 years, all they've given us is the tuna melt. The Greeks, I mean, their heyday is way in the past. I mean, they're great. I love, but
the tuna
melt deluxe. The deluxe, that's not bad.
Is the tuna melt kosher?
It weirdly it is, but it's a horror show. And before I was vegan, it was my go-to item at a Greek.
My son loves it. Yeah, the tuna melt
that thing.
But fish and dairy, you can.
It's the kosher. It's the glot kosher version of surf and turf. The tuna melt. Yeah.
They decided you can mix dairy and fish, but not dairy and. It's like 3-card Monty. They're moving things around.
It's because it's.
I was hoping you would pipe up with it. The halachic, the Jewish legal reason. I want to hear this.
It says, I think it's in Leviticus, and thou shalt not seethe a kid in its mother's milk.
I thought it said
Okay.
braise. It wasn't braise. It was seethe.
Seethe, yes.
What does that mean?
It means you shouldn't cook a kid, a baby goat, in its mother's milk. Right?
Which
Does that make
which-
sense to you? It sounds humane. I mean, there would be something pretty awful about doing that. So then,
Well, if he's alive, if you kill him first, he's not.
even if you kill him, isn't there something like beyond ironic?
it's like when Melville points out that these whale ships that are out there hunting and killing whales, all of the lamps on the ship are lit with the spermaceti oil from those very whales. That
Yeah.
it just it doubles the horror.
Right.
The cruelty is doubled. Yeah.
Have you finished Moby Dick?
I finished it, and it was incredible. Not enough pictures, I would say. A lot of words. That's my only complaint.
And it's funny, right? I haven't read
Amazing.
it.
It's funny, and then it's so long, and there's so much buildup, and then the payoff is even better than you'd expect. That's what was crazy. I was like, this can't. How could this? And then, sure enough, he holds his cards close to his chest for 500 plus pages, and then the ending is unbelievable. You got to read that thing. I recommend it.
Where he says
Spoiler
we're
alert.
gonna,
No spoilers. I'm kidding. But it's great. It's great. Yeah.
I loved it when Captain Ahab says we're going to need a bigger whaling ship.
Yeah, that's
maybe-
good. It's good. Yeah.
Maybe that's. What are you reading, Dr. Hirschenfeld?
I am reading a lot of psychoanalytic stuff because I'm teaching a bunch of courses. So I really don't. Oh, you know what I'm reading though in the non-psychoanalytic world? A wonderful book. I can't even pronounce the author's name.
Dickens. It's pronounced Dickens.
This is the car ride. This is the car ride. I'm driving. You're in the back seat. Your father's in the passenger seat. I'm trying to have a nice conversation, and you lean. Dickens.
With a lot of donut powder on my face while I say it. Oh, go.
It's called Submission, is the name of the book. Welbeck, something like that. It's a French name, so it's spelled in some totally ridiculous way.
Mhm.
But it's about the Islam means.
That's what Islam means. Islam means
Oh,
surrender.
I read it. It's that novel from about 6 years ago about all the
Novel about
Right. Where
Islam
Islam-
taking over France.
right.
Yes.
Right. I liked it a lot. I liked that.
Very well written, really.
But doesn't Islam mean surrender?
So, yes, exactly. That's why he entitled the book.
Oh, it's funny. I thought because the word Islam, it has that like SLM, like salam. I thought it had to do with peace. The
Well,
name.
No, I
maybe
mean,
it's a similar route.
Huh, yeah.
It means give up. It means
Can I
just-
tell you a little vignette?
Yes.
As
As
Or
long
a
as
vin.
it's relevant, as long as it's relevant, pithy,
It's relevant.
and humorous.
All of the above.
Okay.
I'm gonna
You can
tell
go
you
with the VIN. You don't have to keep it short. Go with the VIN.
why you should always turn to me for political analysis. About 6 years ago, I guess it was, I was sitting in an Eli Zabar's restaurant on 3rd Avenue. Very nice restaurant.
Don't get bogged down in the details. Keep it moving. What kind of soup? What kind of soup?
I was there with my friend Salvatore, and there was a table of 2 women sitting next to us, and we engaged them in conversation, nothing lascivious or prurient.
Flirtation.
And it turned out this was the night that Trump had won the nomination of the
The election or the nomination?
What's that?
The election or the nomination?
The
Okay.
nomination. And they were despairing. And I said, what are you talking about? This is the greatest news I've ever heard. This is going to be the destruction of the Republican Party. So this is why you should always ask me all political questions, because I'm right on target.
It's
I
good.
said the same thing.
Yeah.
I said the same thing. There was no way. Never underestimate America's thirst for new. He was new. It was something that we had never seen before, and we love new things, even if it's martial law.
You know,
I found it interesting. Go ahead.
No, I
You
heard
go ahead.
Bob Odenkirk being interviewed by Howard Stern, and he said something about in these pitch meetings for jokes and for sketches, frequently the new idea would move to the top just because it was new. And it's the job of whoever's running that show or whoever's the head writer to resist that temptation to say, oh, the new thing's better, and really sift back through to those old 3 jokes ago might have been better. You got to not just go for the
Right.
new. Yeah.
Some comedy writers call themselves closers, and they wait till Thursday, and they go, "I'm a closer." You schmucks. I come in at the end. The jokes are worse, but they're new.
Right.
I found an interesting word origin. I was reading John McWhorter, his books on linguistics. The shit and science are related. They come from the same root to cut.
Digest. Oh.
No, to cut. And that science is cutting knowledge. Like, just you keep cutting till you get down to the specifics. But I haven't figured out how it's related to and then shit has the same root.
Get back to us next week on that, would you?
That reminds me, the funniest phrase I ever heard for a tuchus, the funniest word, was someone called it a turd cutter. I loved that.
That sounds like a ship.
I know, a turd cutter. It just sounded cute, and I don't know, that really.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to teach now, guys, so enjoy
On that?
yourself. Goodbye.
Okay. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Dr. Philip Hirschenfeld. Let's plug some gigs. Where are you performing next?
Oh, yes. Next week, Friday night, I'm performing in Soho. It's called the UG Comedy Show, UG exclamation point. I'll plug it again next Thursday night. The UG Comedy
And
Show.
how do people get in touch with you?
Oh, EthanHirschenfeld.com. Yeah, EthanHirschenfeld.com. And send me a note. Also, I wanted to say, yeah, I'm reading this. It's just, I wanted to quickly say what I'm reading. Thoreau walked along the beaches here twice in Cape Cod. He walked like a 25-mile walk, and he wrote about it in a book called Cape Cod, which I had never heard of, but it's good stuff. So it's worth a read. It's like that same era as Moby Dick. But also I'm reading something called We Are All Whalers. It's a guy from the Oceanographic Institute here who points out that even if you're not actively killing whales, there's a lot of stuff we do day to day that impacts the northern right whale specifically very adversely. So there's certain things we can change, certain habits, certain things we can.
And you're
stop
up in
doing.
Cape Cod, right?
I am, but I'll be back in a day or two. I'll be back. I was going to be in New York, but I caught a bug, and not COVID, but I had to hang out here for a while.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ethan.
Thank
we
you.
love the Hirschenfelds.
Thank you.